And let's take care of this problem here. So the question sentence reads, how long does the jog take? Okay, so let's highlight that question sentence. And we see that it says, how long? How long does this thing take? How long does the jog take? Well, that's telling me that we're looking for a time period. We're looking for how long something takes. That is time. So I'm going to write that down right there. I am looking for time. Now from here, I see that the information that I'm given is 9.6 miles. That is my distance. And then I see 6 miles per hour, and that is a rate. So notice that I have distance, I have rate, and I'm looking for time. So with that said, hey, I'm going to set up my formula, distance equals rate times time. And remember, the most important thing is to fill in the information in the right places. So we have distance right there, so that's 9.6. We have the rate over here, so that'll be 6 miles an hour. And we multiply that by time, and there we go. So from here, what we're going to do is notice that we are looking for time. So we're not multiplying forward to get distance. We're working backwards to get time by itself. And that means that we're going to divide. So we are going to divide both sides by the 6, just like that, to get that 6 out of the way on the right side. And now all we have to do is divide 9.6 by 6. Now, if this isn't obvious to you, don't worry, it's not obvious to a lot of people working with decimals here. So let's just go ahead and divide 6 going into 9.6, and then we'll see what the answer is. We'll put in the decimal place in that quotient, so we have it lined up nice and easy. And now we'll divide. 6 goes into 9 just once, and then we're going to subtract 1 times 6, which is 6. We have 3 as the remainder, but we're not done. We're going to drop the 6 down right here, and now we have 6 going into 36. How many times does 6 go into 36? Yeah, that'll be 6 times, and there we are. Boom, all done. Our final answer here, the correct answer, is going to be 1.6 hours. And that is answer choice A. All right, on to the next one. In this question and every question, remember that our first task is going to be, well, what's the goal? What's the goal? Why are we looking at this? Why do we care? So it says over here, what is the width of the garden? All right, sounds good. So given that I see a somewhat geometric term here, again, width, doesn't mean that we're dealing with, solid shapes like squares, rectangles, triangles, things like that. But we want to see if there is a shape being mentioned because it might be important later. So we want to know the width. Let me just go ahead and write that down. I just want to know the width. But when I start scanning around and reading my information, I want to take note of any shapes. And I see that right here. Consider a rectangular garden with a length of 12 feet and an unknown width. That unknown width is right there. We don't know it. Okay, sounds good. So I know what the length is. Let me highlight that here in blue. The length right here, 12 feet. And then we continue reading. Again, just take your information in, imagine what you can, visualize what you can, and keep it moving. A gardener walks completely around the garden, covering a total distance of 34 feet. So if I were to say that this 34 feet, this measurement given to us here, if I were to say that this was the perimeter given to us, who here can tell me for what reason? What words could I highlight or circle or underline to really prove that, this is a perimeter and not an area given? Okay, cool. So I see a ton of answers here in the chat box. My favorite answer is from Betty saying around it. Yeah, right here. Again, a gardener walks completely around the garden. That's going to be massive hint number 1. Walks completely around the garden, and then you see that it says distance, and you see that your distance is measured in feet. So when you think about that, my party people, that's what this is about. Being able to prove that you know what the number means. It's not just about, hey, this is what it is, but you want to know why it is what it is, how it's going to help you get to what you want. So with that said, we have our perimeter. We'll write it down. right there. And now the only question we want to ask ourselves is there a connection between the width, the length, and the perimeter? Can I somehow use the length and perimeter of a rectangle to get the width? And the answer is going to be yes. Absolutely. There's always going to be a way. And this is where we have to remind ourselves of that formula. The formula for the perimeter of a rectangle specifically is going to be double the length plus double the width. And so with that, sounds good. Let's go ahead and plug everything in, and then we'll solve. The perimeter right here, we're going to replace that with 34. That is the perimeter given to us. Then the length that we're given is 12, so I'll do 2 times 12. And then we'll write everything else in place. Now remember, we're trying to get that W by itself. We're trying to get this width all by itself. So we're going to clean this up, the 2 times 12, then move it over to the left side if we can, then get rid of that 2 if we can. Let's take it one step at a time. 2 multiplied by 12, that's going to be 24. We write that 24 right there, and we'll go ahead and add the 2W at the end. Next, we got to get rid of that 24. We can get rid of it by subtracting 24 on both sides. Remember, a 24 that's just sitting there, we can really consider that adding a 24, plus 24. So to get rid of a plus 24 that's just sitting there, we'll go ahead and subtract it. And again, on both sides. So once we do that, booyah, one step closer to victory. So 34 minus 24 gives us 10. 10 equals 2W. Again, that's what's left right over here. We'll divide both sides by 2. And that's it. We're done. We just have to make sure we know how to plug the right things into the right places and then solve the equation from there. So the missing width is going to be 5 feet. Answer choice B is correct. And there we are. All right, and let's handle this practice problem here. So the first thing that we always want to do when it comes to attempting to solve an equation is going to be understanding what operation you see moving forward. You want to know what operation you see moving forward. So let's pretend that we knew what x was, and we're just trying to go ahead and just simplify. What operation do we see that's happening right there in front of the x? What operation do we see? Yeah, the operation's addition. We see that it's x plus 7. So once we know what operation we see moving forward, everybody, then we want to work backwards. Everybody, the opposite of addition is going to be subtraction, exactly. So to get this problem solved, we are going to use the opposite operation. We're going to subtract 7. So we're trying to get that x by itself. But it's not just about subtracting on one side. Because remember, whatever you do to one side, we have to do to the other. So once we do it over here, we notice that we're going to cancel the 7 out on the left side, leaving us with x equals 12 minus 7. And that is going to be 5. And there we are. Correct answer here is going to be A, 5, because again, we worked backwards.